Hello, friends. Welcome to the Circle of Light meditation. I'm here in a few places. Hopefully, this is working okay. In all the places I'm in my cabin where I see clients, but it's the reception isn't the best in here, so sometimes it isn't as good as it should be. So, all right. I wanted to talk this evening about triggers and emotions that come up and triggered emotions. That's what a lot of us experience. And as we move through the moving into higher states of consciousness, as we're, ascending with higher vibrations that are all these higher energies that are coming in on Earth, we are being asked to break a lot of patterns in our lives. And from childhood, from past lives. Um, and some of you, I'm sure, and a lot of my clients experience this. Notice that there's a pattern that you might be engaged in. You notice there's a theme that keeps coming up. But we don't always know like what to do to stop the pattern, to break the pattern from recurring. And one thing that we can do is really just ask for help in learning. And, can you help me learn? Talking to higher guidance, right? But sometimes it's not always as clear as a pattern, as being aware of a pattern, but there's a trigger. We get triggered by something. And my belief is that anytime there's a triggered emotion that comes up, there's something to be healed. There's something that's asking to be healed. And so I feel like, kind of a broken record a little bit sometimes because it's like, um, you know, we it continues to be this sort of the same theme that, for these past few years, whatever has been a stuck pattern that maybe we've been engaged in for lifetimes, like not just this lifetime, but lifetimes. And of course we can notice the pattern in this life because we have conscious memory of it. But really, in each incarnation, we choose similar experiences from a higher perspective. Our higher selves do this, right? With certain people, often it's the same sorts of family members to learn from. And, it's like, and we have to recreate similar sorts of situations to actually begin to break the pattern and to learn. So let me see if I can give you an example. I'm sure you all know kind of what I'm talking about, but um, you know what? I'm going to use myself. Why not? So there's a pattern in my life, which I've been aware of being sort of triggered by strong female personalities. And kind of like mine, I have a strong personality. I have opinions and I share them at times, and I can be very kind and loving most of the time, but other times I can be fiery and fierce, right? And there's been a pattern in my life of where there's some conflict, or I experience, maybe it's not active external conflict, but I have some agitation about certain personality types, like real strong female type A personality types. And so I know where this comes from. It's in my family. I grew up with it in my household. It was around me. Let me just put it that way. But there's been a theme of like different people in my life, certain people, and they all happen to be women, most of them, pretty much all, and that I have noticed like there's oh, I just don't like it when they're doing that, or why are they, there's something that is triggering. And so I've noticed there's a pattern, right? And so for me personally, I I know there's always a learning, right? And for all of you, you may have the same sort of thing in a different sort of scenario. There's always a learning, and we're not always ready to kind of say like, oh, what am I meant to learn from this? Because when we have that triggered emotion, it often, it could be fear, about something, that we keep getting these situations where we're afraid of things, or there could be a lot of intense sort of self-doubt, beating ourselves up. In my case, it's anger. I get angry about whatever this person's doing, and she's doing this and she's doing that. And but when we start to notice, like, well, maybe is there something else I'm meant to be looking at here? Is there another, why does this sort of thing keep happening, right? Um, the only way I believe, or one of the only ways that we can really begin to learn is to begin to just first work through our emotions that come up. And we're going to do that in a moment. I was actually doing that today just to kind of get ready for what I was going to do with you all, which is just begin to notice the emotion that comes up in our body. Where is it in our body? Does it have a message for us? Does it have a color, a temperature, a vibration? Is it moving? Um, and that begins to help us kind of detach from it a little bit. Because what happens is we start to attach to some of these emotions, we start to identify with them. And, too much. We all hear people talk about things like my anxiety or my trauma or even my triggers, right? We don't want to carry those things with us. We want to leave them behind. We want them to be like, temporary, not just things that are always there with us. So that's our language does matter. Just call it, like things. Sometimes there's these things I've gotten triggered by, or anxious feelings that I sometimes have. So we don't attach to them so much, which will help us separate from them and not subconsciously, unintentionally bring them along with us everywhere we go, right? Because I know, for instance, I'm not an angry person. I don't go around being angry at everybody, but I experience feelings of anger at times, specifically about certain situations there's been a few people, I could even name them. They're like all in one hand, right? That I've gotten triggered by. There's something they're saying or doing that bothers me. And I'm aware of what it is. And I'll just say, like, because I've done a lot of past life work, as you can guess, that there's a particular thing that I get triggered by, which is feeling like I'm being, um, being ostracized, or betrayal, because in past lives, I was kicked out of the village for teaching children magical things. And and my friends in this one past life, which was pretty particularly traumatic, that I picked up on, the friends I thought I trusted, women, like, turned against me. It was kind of like the Salem it wasn't Salem, it doesn't maybe it was, actually didn't feel like it was the Salem witch trials, but it was like this Puritan sort of time period where people were turning against other people. And so it was this intense betrayal that I felt in that past life. And there were some others too. And so what happens is, it's like a very instinctive thing. And now I'm going to bring it over to you, that maybe my sharing this can help you kind of see that we don't always understand, like, why do I feel this way? Why is this emotion coming up? And some with triggered emotions, we lose the ability to think rationally because we're not in our prefrontal cortex. We go into that fight or flight. The amygdala gets activated. We go into the reptilian brain and it's survival mode. And so we're not necessarily being calm. We can start to attack somebody, or, just start to go spiral, right? Like, oh, they're doing this to me, and that's kind of what I do. It's like she's doing this, and she's trying to do this to me, and she's trying to manipulate, and she's trying to hurt me, and and I have learned to kind of look at that and be like, is that really what's happening here? Is she really trying to do these things, or am I perceiving it as that? Is there another explanation for what's going on? And so I say that for you to kind of do the same, to start to first notice, okay, where's the emotion? What is the emotion first? And then what happens with the emotion is then there's almost always a belief that is attached to it. Like I said just a moment ago, for me, with a particular person, the belief, well, the most recent one was, she thinks I'm an idiot. She doesn't respect me. Like, that was sort of a belief. She doesn't she's rude, like I sort of think, which, some of these things are partly true, honestly. But but those beliefs can be so embedded, we don't even realize we're thinking them. Like they're just there. And um, we all kind of vent to friends and family members, right, about people we're complaining about them. And so I would say, take a moment and just notice some of the things you're saying or even thinking that might not be completely accurate. And in fact, what can happen if I were to go on that train of like, she's rude to me, she's disrespecting me, then what I can do is then if I start believing that she's doing that, then I'm going to respond in a way that is defensive, right? And and then I'm probably going to maybe even she's going to feel defensive because I'm being defensive, and then it could continue, that it creates this whole new thing that didn't need to happen, right? So I've learned, even though I have some of these thoughts, I've learned to kind of be like, okay, is that really what's going on here? Is it really that is she really rude, or is it just that she's not a real good communicator, and maybe she's just really busy, and this is over email, right? A lot of email is not a good way to communicate for intense conversation. Maybe she's just like really, you know, just busy and trying to get done really quickly. And I needed information from her. This is somebody who I had contracted with. Anyway, so there could be another explanation, right? And so when we start to say, like, could there be another explanation? Then we start to detach from the story of it. And that's really important because when we attach to a story, like, people, nobody understands me, or people always do this, or that's one thing the ego does, is put it on other people. Another thing the ego does, we'll put it on ourselves, like, well, maybe I could, in my case, I could say, well, it's my fault, people don't like me, she just doesn't like me, and this other person doesn't like me, and I don't think that, honestly, because I tend to put the blame on other people, which is not the best thing to do, but that is my default. In certain situations, I've done that. But sometimes we can really, beat ourselves up. I will say that when I first started my business, I remember there was a workshop I did and nobody showed up. And I remember thinking like, I was like, why didn't they show up? What happened? Is it just I'm bad at what I do and people don't like what I'm doing and they don't like me and I should just stop and nobody cares? Like, but I had done other workshops where people did show up. And so I realized later on it was a topic I didn't care about. I was tired of, I didn't really publicize it very well. And so if I didn't care about it, why would other people care about it? I didn't put energy into it. I didn't, my energy wasn't there. So, um, but if I had listened to those thoughts at that time, kind of beating myself up, I wouldn't be here today. I probably would have given up. And so that's a little tidbit for anybody who's trying to start a business. Don't give up, just tweak it, right? So anyway, it's really important to get a handle on, there's the emotion and try to clear it, obviously, but the thought and the belief that can come from that, because if we start to attach to those, and these can have, it can be about things like, I've had some clients recently who, something goes wrong in their body and they start to think like, what if I'm dying? Or you know, um, what if there's something wrong with me? And then you start to get attached to like any little thing that happens in your body, like a hiccup or a pain. And you start to think, oh, well, there's something wrong with me. And then we attach to that thought, creates all kinds of, stuff. So the thoughts are really important, and the thoughts are, it's kind of tricky to get a handle on them. Quieting the mind, super important, helpful way to really start to just begin to become aware of what our thoughts are, and the beliefs are beneath the thoughts, right? And beliefs can be even harder to identify. Like when I said before about my own example of, she doesn't respect me because this person I was having conflicts. My thoughts were like, oh, you know, she's so difficult and I don't like her, like sort of thing. And then, I got down to, there's a belief, I wasn't actually thinking this, but there was a belief that she didn't respect me or she thought I was stupid. And so she was, because I was asking her to explain something to me. And that so we just pause and say, there's this acronym STOP, stop. The S stands for stop, T, take a moment, O, observe, P, proceed. So just stop and just notice, like, what's happening here? Like, what's going on in my brain? Am I getting attached to something? And it's just that moment of pause can help us come in from a bird's eye perspective and not attach to it anymore. So there's a few different things that I find helpful to kind of move through the trigger. Notice, not, detach or, separate from the thought, de-identify. There's another acronym, which is RAIN. It's a Buddhist acronym, which stands for recognize, acknowledge, identify, and non-identify, something like that. Similar sort of thing to stop, but you can do this with emotions, you can do this with thoughts and beliefs. And so when we do all that, when we get out, there's the initial moment of trigger, doesn't feel good. We don't want to be that way. Sometimes if you're really upset, it can affect you for a while. Like you have trouble sleeping, or you're just agitated, or you're tense. And you know what? If we hold those negative emotions in our body for too long, over a period of years, then our bodies can, there's dissonance, there's negative energy in there, and if we bury it in there, then we start to get sick, and things show up, autoimmune stuff, cancer, things like that. So I'm sure you're familiar with that, or you've seen that. Hopefully you haven't had that happen. The good news is, if you have, it's the emotions. What am I not looking at? What have I, buried in my body? What have I pushed under the rug that needs to be looked at? And so if we can allow ourselves to first kind of acknowledge it and look at the emotion, maybe it's this old stuff, it could be childhood trauma. Bring in higher guidance, bring in a spirit guide, bring in angel to help you, or God, whoever, whatever is based in pure love, to help you feel safe enough to go look at that emotion, look at that belief that might be attached to it. And then once, we start to be like, okay, maybe there's a release, the emotion starts to be released a little bit inevitably as we do this. Then there's like, okay, what's the learning? What am I meant to be learning? In my case, I'm saying this out. I think I'm still working on the lesson with some of these triggered experiences I have with people. But I think for me, it's really healing from being persecuted for sharing my gifts, and learning to trust. I think that's part of it. It's just how we learn to trust. We experience situations when there maybe wasn't trust, or maybe there was betrayal, or something like that. And we experience the opposite even in our lives today. But then through those situations, this is soul contract stuff, right? Things that are predetermined, we can learn the lesson so we don't keep having to have these situations repeat, right? So there's a lot of different dimensions to conflicts and, hard times, just crappy situations that we go through in our lives. And it's almost always with other people, in relationship with other people, or something somebody said or did that, starts with parents, goes on to other people in our lives. Could be friends, could be strangers, could be just colleagues. But ultimately we want to thank them for giving us the gift that they're giving us through their actions and words to learn. It's like, thank you for the opportunity to help me learn and grow. Thank you. They agreed to that role, right? So all right, so if you've gotten some tips here, and if you're struggling with doing this, get some help, right? Get some help from somebody else to help you see, what are you not seeing? It's difficult to see the ocean when you're a drop in that ocean, right? Get some help with even a friend or a family member who knows you, who can kind of be that outsider. Of course, people like me, we do this work. This is what I do, help people kind of see what's there. So if you can hear me talk about it, but if you're not sure, if you tried it and it's not working, you need another human to kind of help you see, because it's very difficult actually to start to see because we're in our own head, and it's hard to separate when we're in it. But all right, let's do wow, I've been talking for a while. This is a complex topic, right? So let's do a little meditation to bring some light in. And clear any emotion that you've experienced recently that you want to really want to feel better. You want to feel better from. So, all right, you can close your eyes. And take some deep breaths in and slow exhales out. Bringing in light, bringing in healing oxygen, warm air, opening your body, opening your lungs, slowly letting that out, just softening, letting go, letting the shoulders drop, let your body begin to relax. And doing a few more deep breaths if that feels good. And then just beginning to drop into your body, noticing how you're feeling in this moment. As you connect in with your breath, connect in with your body, with your heartbeat. Just begin to scan your body. Is there an emotion that's in there? Maybe it's something from today or just something from this week that's still feeling a little icky, that feels like it doesn't really belong, or it feels something feels a little off. And if you don't feel this way, congratulations. We don't need to find something there that isn't there, but usually there's something there. I believe at least that when we're done with our inner work is when we're dead. As long as we're in this body in this lifetime, there's always more to heal. You have so many tools now to help you do that. You're safe to do this. It is safe for you to look at what's deep within. And just taking a moment, just as you scan your body, just notice an area of your body where you're feeling that sort of dissonance. You're feeling that sort of off, icky feeling. You don't really want it in your body. Just where is it? Is it in your heart, in your belly, in your throat, in your back? Where is it? And as you notice this, is there a way this feeling can show up for you? Just kind of like you're shining a light on it. Somebody turned the light on and that feeling may be trying to hide in the corner, or maybe you've buried it down deep somewhere in your body, but now the light's on. And just like a crumb that's way back in the corner somewhere, or a piece of dirt that was able to hide when it was dark. Now there's some illumination. And you have light, divine light. You have loving sources with you, spirit guide, an angel, the source of all that is, the creator, or maybe a deceased loved one, whoever it is, a master like Jesus or Mother Mary or Buddha. They're here to help you know that this is safe for you to do. So locating that feeling, how does it show up to you? Is there a shape or a color? Does it have a temperature or a texture to it? Is it deep down in your body, or is it maybe kind of on the surface? And does it seem to be moving around, or is it really stuck in sort of one place? And just see if you can now, like you're tuning in and then to a fuzzy radio station, tuning the dial so it comes in clearer. If this feeling can speak, if it had a message for you, what would it say? Noticing, allowing the light to flow, to shine on this feeling. What does it say? It's a word, spelling out the word or a message it has. And it's probably not a positive message. See if you can just hear it and acknowledge it. And just like a scared animal, like a rabbit or a deer that you want to connect with the help of your loving divine guide or higher being of light, just sitting with this emotion and reminding it that it's safe for it to be seen and known. You want to understand it, to help it, maybe. And as you befriend this emotion in a way, as you invite it out, just notice if something becomes dislodged, if it becomes a little looser in there, a little freer, a little more open in that area of your body. And just asking now, what does it need from you? What does it need or what does it want from you? Just taking a moment, shining the light, flowing with the light. Maybe you hear a message, maybe you just have a feeling, just trusting what comes up. And if nothing comes up, that's okay. Just trust that this is helping you anyway. This can take time. And whatever you receive, just be asking this feeling, this image, how you can do that in your life. What can you do in your waking life? Maybe an action you can take to help meet its needs, to help it receive healing itself, this energetic thing in your body. How can it receive healing, or how can you help it in some way? What can you do to make that happen? And so as you just receive whatever is coming up or work with whatever is coming up, just imagine yourself doing this. Maybe it's forgiving or trusting or somehow protecting yourself while you're opening up more to a new possibility in your life doing this. Or maybe it's just resting, being kind to yourself, being forgiving and loving to yourself. And just take a moment and sit with, how would it feel if you were to take this action? How would that feel in your body? Is there a color, Would it feel peaceful? Would it feel loving? Would it feel gentle, full of grace and self-love and self-understanding and compassion? And what's a color that feels like it might want to flow into your body to help you invite this quality in? Wow, that light, that color, any color other than black or brown, really, just any color. Is it pink? Is it green? Is it blue, purple? What color is it? Can flow that can help release and clear and bring in this new feeling that is a high vibration feeling for you. Just receive that now. Soak up this light in your body, especially in that area where that stuck feeling was. And notice if that old feeling has been released at all, if that light can just wash it out, if it can cleanse it from your body, just letting it be dissolved away, pulled out, sucked out, however it wants to be released, just letting that new color, that new healing, divine, loving light take its place, soaking it up at every level in your body, this new light. I am safe. I'm learning to love. I'm learning to trust. I'm learning to receive. You just feel this beautiful energy just swirling around you, this light wrapping you in a nice warm hug. You can even hug yourself and just begin to come back into your body, just giving thanks with hands in prayer position if you're comfortable with that, and your heart center over your heart, whatever feels right. Just taking a moment just to give thanks. Deep breath in, slow exhale out, coming back into your body, stretching out. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. All right, so I hope that was helpful in some way. It's interesting what happens when we do that. If anybody has anything to share about what that was like or what you noticed, were you able to clear some of that emotion? What was the new sort of feeling that you brought in, the color of or the light? I was doing it too. And it was helpful. So I just kind of make this up, and it's kind of a little bit of guided imagery. That's what we were doing. A little bit of parts therapy, working with parts, mild sort of hypnotherapy, but so it can be really powerful and helpful. And it doesn't have to take that long. That was slightly longer meditation than you would need to do if are in the moment and there's a triggered emotion that comes up. Just do the stop, the acronym, where is it in my body? What's happening here? That just doing that can begin to separate from it just in the moment, taking some breaths. Sometimes it's not ready to be released right away, right? That can take time, but even you can start to remove the attachment from it just by noticing it and just noticing the qualities of it and where it is, and that can really remove some of its power. So thank you for joining me, and we'll do this again in a few weeks. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk about triggered emotions was because it seems to be something that's coming up for a lot of people. And also I'll just say, if you want to kind of learn more about how to break the patterns and how to learn how to go into your Akashic records. That's what I do. I go into my Akashic records to like get information about why this is happening, what am I meant to learn, and also there's a lot of healing that comes in from that, and it gives you a perspective like, why might this person be like that? Why might they be like doing this right now? And then in the Akashic records, there's, a word comes in, or just this awareness. Oh, it's because they're suffering, or they have this, they have this childhood trauma in their life. So that's why. And so it can bring it all into like, full circle, and you can really develop compassion and empathy. And then we start to, with compassion and empathy, which is a vibration of love, it can remove the negative sort of attachments. And then we can really, we can feel more open to them and not as triggered, right? So I'm teaching a class, how to read the Akashic Records. It's a 4-week online class that starts in a few weeks. If you want to learn how to read your own Akashic Records, there will come a day when everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people learn how to read their Akashic Records. That's one of my goals, to teach people how to do that. So if you're curious about how to learn how to read your own records, part of what we'll be doing is learning how to open our third eye, connect it with intuition, and then we'll be learning more about what are in the records, past lives, the masters, the council of elders, looking at future timelines, looking at ancestral timelines. It's very cool. It's so powerful, so healing. This class is like I said, 4 2-hour classes every other week, starting early December. Pay what you can. Pay from the heart is something I'm offering for this, which is it's almost like a sliding scale. So don't let price stop you. If you want to take it, check it out. If you go to my website, you'll see it somewhere, but you'll find it. Maybe I'll post it. I'll put the link in here somewhere on Facebook after, but yeah, feel free to let me know if you're interested. There's a few people that signed up already, and I just posted it yesterday, so I can't wait to work with you all. So let's see. Oh, Sue, pink quartz, beautiful. Yes, the person is doing the best they can. They may not know any better. That's absolutely right. Beautiful. All right. Thank you all for being here. Sending you much love, many blessings. Have a good night. Bye.